school, and of course with my colleague, Senator Gillibrand. As a member of the Judiciary Committee, I've certainly had a lot to say about how Dr. Ford is being treated in this process, and she's not being treated fairly. There's absolutely no question about that. And women like Dr. Ford, who come forward very bravely to tell her story, which, by the way, is very credible and I believe her, need to be supported. They need not only to be heard, but to be believed. So as all of this is playing out, and it is so obvious that the committee is not treating her fairly, I have heard from some of my friends who I have known, some of them for many, many years, women who shared with me their own really painful stories of, in the case of two of them, they had been raped. And in the case of one of them, she was only 15, and there was an attempted rape on her. And I never knew any of this about these women that I have known for, in cases, many years. This is what happens. The trauma of this kind of assault is so tremendous, they never talk about it. But to hear these three friends of mine, as well as others who have contacted my office with their stories, brings tears to my eyes, and it just goes to show how pervasive this is and how we have not created an environment where women like Dr. Ford can come forward and be supported in a respectful way. And that is not what is happening. What is happening with the Judiciary Committee is a really, I would call it a railroad job. And it's totally unfair. The way I portrayed it and describe it is you have the entire force of the presidency and all of the supporters of Judge Kavanaugh in the Senate arrayed on one side, and on the other side you have Dr. Ford, who doesn't even have the benefit of an FBI investigation as we all have called for. You know, how unfair is that? And that's why I'm really grateful that the leaders of her school are coming forward. They organized a letter drive to stand with Dr. Ford, and they're going to have a few words to say in a couple of minutes, but this is not fair. I'm counting on the members of the press to point out that this is a fast track. They are totally intent on getting Judge Kavanaugh onto the Supreme Court, come hell or high water. Come hell or high water, and you have to ask yourself, why? And why isn't Judge Kavanaugh asking for an FBI investigation if he has nothing to hide? You all should continue to press that point. So now
Shall we receive the letter and then close this out?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to come present the letter? Would you like to read
Introduce yourselves and
sure.
read the letter and...
No, go ahead. You step forward.
Sure. Hi, my name is Sarah Burgess, and I'm Holton-Arms alumni. I'm class of 2005. I'm here today to share a letter which has been signed by over 1,000 Holton alumni in support of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. We believe Dr. Blasey Ford, and we are so grateful to her for coming forward and sharing her story. As we say in the letter, her experience is consistent with experiences that we have heard and lived, and many of us are survivors ourselves. We are sharing this letter so it can be officially added to the record, so the Senate Judiciary Committee can consider it as they make this very important decision. Dr. Blasey Ford has shown that she is beyond credible. Sexual assault needs to be taken seriously, and there is no way that you can vote on this before we have a thorough and independent investigation. Once again, most of all, we are so grateful to Dr. Blasey Ford, and we hope she knows that we stand with her. And we are so thankful that she is helping us move towards a world where women can be free from sexual assault and violence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Here's the letter.
Yes, this is our letter. My name is Alexis Goldstein. I'm in the class of 1999, and we have had a massive outpouring of support from our community. The women of the Holton-Arms School wanted to know how they could sign the letter, how they could help, where they could show up. Everyone wants to stand in solidarity with Dr. Christine Blasey Blasey Ford, and we are so proud to be here, but we are mostly proud of her and her courageousness. We invite any Holton-Arms alumni who have not yet signed the letter to sign the letter. Christine Lagarde is an alumni of Holton-Arms. We invite her to sign the letter. Senator Shelley Moore Capito is a member of the class of 1971 from Holton-Arms. We invite Senator Capito to sign this letter. But as Sarah said, and as the senators have said over and over again, sexual assault is not just something that happens at private school and prep schools. Sexual assault is a problem across America, and women need to be heard and they need to be believed. And we are so in awe of Dr. Blasey Ford's courageousness. The community stands with her. That is why we put this letter together. Our community was very grateful. Holton-Arms is not a large school. 1,000 names is a huge number of women from Holton-Arms. Our average class size is between 80 and 100, and the farther you go back, the smaller that class is. So this is a huge chunk of our community. But there's one other thing I just want to share with you. So when I was 14 years old, I was on the field hockey team at Holton-Arms, and we made a shirt, and I've held on to it for 23 years because it says something on the back that really means something to me. So I was 14 going on 15. I just want to remind everyone that Dr. Christine Blasey Ford was 15 at the time of this assault. That is so young. That is so young. So when I was that young, I was on the field hockey team, and we made this shirt for the team, and it says don't mess. So I'm here today because I want to say don't mess with Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. Don't mess with the alumni of the Holton-Arms School. But most importantly, don't mess with survivors. Because this is not 1991, and America has their back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to thank these. Oh, you were speaking too. Sorry. Go ahead. Please.
So I'm Kate Gold. I am class of 2005, and I just want to say that I hope that Dr. Christine Blasey Ford gets the message that we have her back and that we support her in everything that she's going through right now, which is a horrible amount of things that no one should ever have to go through. So I'm glad that you guys are here. And I'm happy for everyone that has signed the letter and everyone that has tried to sign the letter when they're not alumni. And it's been really sweet and wonderful, all of the support that is coming through. So thank you.
God bless. Kirsten. Well, I want to thank these strong, courageous women that are standing with us. I want to thank Senator Hirono for her amazing leadership and her willingness to speak truth to power. So this letter is signed by 1,000 women. There are millions more who want to be heard on this very issue. I believe Dr. Blasey Ford because she's telling the truth. And you know it by her story. You know it by the fact that she told her therapist 5 years ago. It was documented at the time. We have the therapist's notes. She told her husband, this is a trauma she's been dealing with her whole life. She doesn't want to be in a bedroom that doesn't have 2 doors. People knew that about her a long time ago. She told a friend a year ago. She told a reporter before Dr. Kavanaugh was ever named. These are the hallmarks of truth. These are the hallmarks of someone who wants to be believed because she fears that if this person is confirmed, he will do terrible things for American women. She is concerned that he does not have the character, the integrity, the honesty to be a Supreme Court justice. I believe her because she's telling the truth. She is asking the FBI to investigate her claims. She is asking for that kind of review, that investigative work, that oversight, that accountability, because she's telling the truth. Someone who is lying does not ask the FBI to investigate their claims. Who is not asking the FBI to investigate these claims? The White House. Judge Kavanaugh has not asked to have the FBI review these claims. Is that the reaction of an innocent person? It is not. So we have to get to the bottom of this as Americans before we put someone on the Supreme Court for life. I am very concerned that my Senate colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle, those on the Judiciary Committee, are unwilling to get to the bottom of this, don't want the facts. Even the Anita Hill hearings had an investigation, an FBI investigation of her allegations in advance of the hearing. Even in Anita Hill's case, she had 22 witnesses, some of them corroborating witnesses. Those things are not being afforded Dr. Blasey Ford. They're the basics. And this is not something that's debatable or negotiable or we only do it sometimes. No. A background check is required for all judicial nominees, especially for the Supreme Court. But they cannot complete that background investigation if they don't investigate these claims. So right now we have an incomplete background investigation by the FBI. So she is not asking for extraordinary measures. She's asking for basic fairness. This is about basic fairness. And I do hope the American people, I do hope every woman in America is paying very close attention to what is happening in this body, in the U.S. Senate today. This is not 1991, and how dare them not even afford the basic courtesies that were afforded then. They're giving her an option. The option is show up Monday or don't show up at all. I consider that to be bullying. I consider that to be disregarding. I consider that to be something set up for failure. They would like a he said, she said scenario. Because you know what happens in those scenarios? The men are typically believed because you see those issues through your own lens. Why not have the corroborating witnesses? What are they afraid of? Why not have the therapist come in, her husband come in, her friend come in? Why not have Mark Judge testify under oath to the FBI and then in front of the committee? What are they afraid of? Ask the question, what are they afraid of? What is this White House afraid of? What is this president afraid of? What is the U.S. Senate afraid of? What are the Republican members of the judiciary afraid of? Those are the questions we need to ask today. And thank you for being here. And thank you for standing with Dr. Ford.
Thank you very much. We'll take some questions.
We have a question for some of the alumni here. You cited Senator Capito being a graduate. She obviously could be a swing vote on this. What would it take for you to make this case to Capito, and what do you specifically expect from a graduate of your school who could make up the difference in a 51-49 Senate on a nomination of this level?
I mean, we obviously can't speak for Senator Capito. We have reached out to her office. We've reached out to her staffers. We're going by there later this afternoon to hand deliver a copy of the sign-on letter and invite her to sign just to make sure, absolute sure that she gets it. Holton-Arms has an honor code that I think it's safe to say we all take very seriously and believe in each other. So I would hope that the senator would consider signing our letter and consider the fact that this is a member of her extended Holton-Arms community, but we cannot speak for the senator.
More than just signing the letter, you need to be able to convert her vote from a potential yes to a no on it. So, I mean, that could make the difference right there.
I mean, maybe the senators can speak to that more. We're standing as members of the Holton-Arms alumni community in support of our fellow alumni, and we are just asking all members of our alumni community to do that, including Senator Shelley Moore Capito.
Ma'am, maybe if I could follow up with you on Chad's question. Would you endorse a call for Capito to withhold her vote or to vote no?
I think we stand with Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, who has asked for an independent investigation prior to her coming forward to any hearing, and so we would encourage Senator Capito to back her fellow alumni in that request.
I have a question for both those senators, if you don't mind. What do you think the reaction of women across America is going to be if Republicans press forward with a vote on Judge Kavanaugh in the event Dr. Ford doesn't testify?
I hope the women of America, as well as the men, by the way, because why should it just be the women who care about fair treatment, but it's men, it's all of America. I think there's a lot more attention being paid to how this whole thing is being handled. And harken back to 1991 and to listen to Orrin Hatch and Chuck Grassley back then saying, well, an FBI investigation is very appropriate. You would hardly know that they are the two same people who are both saying, we don't need an FBI investigation. You know, if they think that the people of America are not paying attention, and all the women who are running for office more than ever in the entire history of our country, they, I hope, will be badly mistaken come the 2018 elections. There are a lot more people paying attention now.
And, one thing to follow on with what Mazie just said, we have Republican staffers saying that they are unfazed and determined to confirm Judge Kavanaugh. So they're not taking this seriously. When the Republican senators offer their staffs to do the investigation, well, obviously they are not objective. They are not the professional staff that would be necessary in the FBI to do this kind of investigation. Someone who is nonpartisan, someone who has been trained to do this level of investigation. And so having that quote out there, they've already decided they don't want the facts. They don't want this investigation done.
And let me tell you why this is being so fast-tracked. They need to get Judge Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court before the October term begins, because there are a lot of really important cases coming before the court. And the president he thinks that Justice Kavanaugh will protect him from civil and criminal proceedings, because that is what Judge Kavanaugh wrote. And then the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation people, they don't want any more 4-4 deadlock Supreme Court decision, as happened in the Fredericks case, which was a case that was going to eviscerate public sector unions. And then along comes Judge Gorsuch on the court, and suddenly there's a 5-4 decision called Janus that did just that. These two organizations want their justices to be, well, they want Justice Kavanaugh up there so that he can be the fifth vote on women's reproductive choice, on environmental protection laws, on continuing attacks on unions and working people. That is why this is being fast-tracked. Not to mention, there are elections around the corner.
What about the election? Senator Hirono, in Anita Hill's op-ed this week, she said a process needs to be established for fair treatment of sexual harassment cases that come up. This is not going to be the last one.
No, it won't.
And I wondered if you could share your thoughts on what such a process would look like.
Well, first of all, there has to be an unbiased, full investigation of the facts that needs to be developed. A hearing should include witnesses that are corroborating witnesses so that you could actually hear from all sides. Those are part of the process that Anita outlined in her op-ed, but I think she's exactly right. And there's precedent for it. It's what we do anyway. And so why not give it a full hearing? In the Anita Hill case, they didn't give it enough time. They rushed it as well. There were witnesses that wanted to testify that were denied the ability to testify. They were corroborating witnesses for her story. And so I believe, as she laid out, you need to have an allegation like this fully investigated by a nonpartisan professional source like the FBI.
And anybody who understands the dynamics of this kind of an experience should know that you have to treat the witness with dignity, or the survivor with dignity, and that this whole process is so rushed that it makes our heads spin. Totally unfair, because these people, the president and the Republican supporters here of Judge Kavanaugh, are totally focused on getting this person onto that Supreme Court.
Senators, if this moves to a floor vote, what are you willing to do to fight for sexual assault survivors? Have you considered sitting on the floor of the Senate like Representative Lewis did for gun victims?
Look, we're going to continue to raise our voices, because this isn't just what we in the Senate can do. It's frankly mobilization
of the American people.
And as I said, the 2018 elections will be our first time when we can manifest the concerns that are being raised over what's happening with this nomination, and it better manifest itself in the kind of votes that are taken, and the kind of people who get voted in to serve here.
Last question.
Today, he was asked why there would be no outside witnesses in the potential hearing if it happens on Monday, and he said, I want to read to you, he said, we already had a hearing. That's what I call hijacking the regular committee process to accommodate political interests. Can you respond directly to Cornyn?
Well, first of all, the reason why this is now a public allegation is because it was leaked. She did not want to come forward. She wanted to maintain her confidentiality, but she wanted her senator and congressperson to know that this existed. That is very common behavior for survivors. Once her name was leaked and her identity was leaked, she wanted to be the one to tell her story. That was not within her control. Now that she's telling her story, they have to do the investigation properly, and they have to do the hearings properly. So to rewrite history, to say that they had an opportunity to look into this issue previously is false.
It seems clear that you're not going to get this FBI investigation that you're looking for. Do you see a way to end this impasse if that condition is not met? What recommendation would you make to Dr. Ford?
It's not clear to me that it can't be done. They should be able to start that investigation right now.
But they don't seem willing to.
if the American people speak out loud enough about how important this is to them, they might change their minds, and they should change their minds.
And if they don't,
I think we have to keep fighting.
thank you, Senator.
Recommend that she testify if they don't?
I raised an issue last night on Rachel Maddow's show. She is being threatened, death threats, etc. This is called, I would say, intimidation of a witness, and I call upon the FBI on their own to investigate this occurrence and all of the threats that she's undergoing.
And if they